today let's talk all things house hacking. You may have heard the term before, you may not have. This is actually a new strategy that you can use to get into real estate investing while having a primary residence. It's not as much money out of your pocket, so it's a very awesome strategy for the way the market's going, the way prices are going, the way interest rates are going. This is a great way to get into real estate investing. So today we're gonna break down what is house hacking, how to do it, and let you know if it's the right strategy for you. Let's break it all down. Hey guys, I'm Andrew Lewis, real estate investor and entrepreneur with over 10 years experience building and growing a real estate team and investing in real estate. Before we jump into today's video, make sure that you take a moment, hit that like button, leave a comment below about any questions you might have, and be sure to hit that subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. I'm here to help you break out of your 9-to-5, gain financial freedom, and grow wealth through real estate. Let's dive in. So let's break this all down. What is house hacking? Again, maybe you've heard this term. If you've been around the real estate investing space for some time, it gets thrown around a lot as a really popular method to start off in your real estate investing journey. If you're all new to this, maybe this is a foreign concept to you, but house hacking is essentially buying a home as your primary residence and then renting portions of that property out to start earning some passive income, or at the very least, to lower your monthly expenses. This is a great tool you can use, a hack, that's why they call it that you can use to save extra money to help you invest in other real estate properties to start earning appreciation. We hear all the time as real estate agents that people just aren't ready to buy a house yet because it is actually more expensive than renting. And so this is an option that can help you get into a home purchase even if you can't afford the larger payment. So house hacking is something that you can do with single family homes. You can buy that house, you live in one of the primary bedrooms, and then you can rent out the rest of those rooms. And so you can start earning some income off of that or lowering your monthly expenses there. And a wise person would save that to invest in future real estate. You can also buy a duplex and you can live in one of the units and rent out the other unit. In our area, there's next-gen suites or multi-gen suites that you could buy a house that's 3,000 square foot. You could live in this 1,000 square foot next-gen suite as your primary home and rent out the larger property and start making a ton of money off of that. Or you can buy a 3 to 4-plex. You can even go bigger than that with different financing terms and options, and we'll talk about some of that. But this allows you to get into it, have a home to call your own, you stop paying rent, and you lower your bills, or you start earning some passive income that will help you begin your real estate investing journey. So this is a hack that you absolutely should pay attention to and weigh out. So let's dive into exactly how to make this all happen. House hacking step number 1 is simple. It is getting pre-approved. That is reaching out to a lender, starting that process. Just so you know what they're gonna ask you for there. They want to see your most recent pay stubs, 2 of those, 2 months of bank statements, 2 years of tax returns, some identification, and they can get the ball rolling on getting you a pre-approval. So they'll run those numbers and they will tell you what you can afford. A lot of people try to throw this at the end of the process. Let me find my house first and then I'll get financed. That is the wrong way to go about it. You need to know what you are qualified for, and that's going to help your real estate agent run the numbers for you and help yourself know exactly what kind of income you're going to be earning off of this investment, as well as what your share of the payment might be. So get out there, find out what you're pre-qualified for. You want a local lender that is known in the area, so make sure you're working with somebody that's got great reviews. Maybe your realtor can recommend somebody to you, but start there. Get the documentation in there. I know not everybody has their 2 years of tax returns just sitting on their desktop ready to be sent out to somebody, but take the time, dig those up, get the pre-approval, and you'll actually know what you're working with. And so when it comes to this loan side of things, you've actually got several options. What makes a house hack really great for you is that you can use a loan program called an FHA loan. An FHA loan is 3.5% down. You can only use this on a primary residence, which is why it works for a house hack, and you can also use it on up to a 4-unit property as long as you're occupying one as your primary residence. So in this loan type, you only put down 3.5%. That's not a lot of money compared to the 20-25% down you might have to put down on a traditional real estate investment property that you're not living in. So you can use an FHA loan, you can use a conventional loan. There's all sorts of products there that can walk you through it. But if you're looking for as little money down as possible, talk to them about an FHA loan. They'll walk you through it. You'll get a low down payment, a great interest rate, and you'll be off to your real estate investing journey. Step number 2 is to start doing your research. So now you've been pre-approved, you know exactly how much you can afford, and with that, you should now be able to start making some decisions and doing some research on what areas fit my budget. Am I looking for a single family home, which is just your standard 3-bedroom, 2-bath, however many bedroom bath, or am I looking at multifamily? And so that's going to depend on your approval. And when it comes to looking at some of those things, if you're looking at multifamily, if it's something that already has tenants in it, they can actually count 75% of that rent as income for you if they're going to pass those tenants on to you. So you need to start doing your research, seeing if multifamily, single family, and identifying the area that's got to fit within your budget, and then making sure that that area brings in the rents that you're looking for and has the demand to make sure that this is somewhere that you can start to make some money. And hey, let's face it, you're also gonna be living in this property as your primary residence for some time, so it's gotta be in an area that you're okay living in as well. So make sure that you do some really, really good research. And so this will go along with our next step as well, but make sure you do some of that research ahead of time before you start talking to somebody. You want to tell them what you are looking for, and they can help walk you through some of that as well. Step number 3 is finding a real estate agent. This is an important one. You may have a cousin, brother, or uncle, or friend, or somebody in real estate. Do your research here as well. Make sure that they know what your goals are and what you're going after. Make sure they have the experience doing this. If you say house hack and they have no idea what you're talking about, you probably need to look for somebody different. If they're not into real estate investing and don't know how to run those numbers and get you accurate rents, you should probably be looking for somebody else. So do some research here, interview multiple people, ask really, really good questions. I'll be honest, I'm a real estate agent, and when buyers come to us, they very rarely ask any questions about what we do. It may be, hey, how long have you been in business? But that means absolutely nothing. Someone could have been in business for 100 years, but done 3 deals, and that doesn't mean that they're good at what they do. And so make sure you ask great questions. Hey, how do you help a buyer evaluate a house hack? If they cannot answer that question for you, you should move on. Ask questions of, what kind of financing should I be considering for this house hack? You may know the answer, that FHA is a great option, but if they can't come up with an answer and hit right on what you were thinking, you probably need to be moving on. So you can use all sorts of agent, investor-friendly websites to find somebody here. So I recommend those. BiggerPockets is a great resource for that. They feature agents that are very familiar with some of these strategies, but make sure that you do the research, ask great questions, and then combine heads together and make sure that you're both doing research to find the area and the loan type and the property types that you're going to be going after. Narrow down that buy box. The more narrow you can get it, the more laser focused you'll be on the search, and when the right property comes up, you'll know it's a 100% match for you right off the bat, and then you're just gonna go verify that the property condition is great, it's in the location you wanna be in, and you place an offer. Step number 4 is to get out there and start shopping. This is the fun part. You did all of the hard stuff before, and this is where people often try to skip straight towards. They skip the pre-approval, they skip talking to the realtor, they skip doing their research, and they want to get started shopping. And you start looking on Zillow and trying to find a place, and before you know it, you picked up the phone and called the guy off of Zillow, he's showing you the property, and you're locked in with a realtor that doesn't know anything about real estate investing, can't run those numbers for you, and you might be setting yourself up for a bad deal. So take your time, do the first 3 steps, and then you get out there and get shopping and do the fun part. Now, when it comes to shopping, some common mistakes that we see here is you need to put yourself in the mindset of an investor. Yes, you will be living in this property as your primary residence, but you need to shift your mind to start thinking like a real estate investor. It needs to be a little bit less about how the home makes you feel, where the kids are going to school, some of those pieces, and more about the numbers. How many bedrooms does it have? Can I rent those out? If it's a multi-unit property, how many of those units are available? How many are occupied? What's the current rent? Are they current market rents? You need to start really running those numbers, and a good realtor is going to run those numbers for you ahead of time, present you awesome opportunities that will cash flow or at least achieve the discounted mortgage that you're looking for, and then you go look at those homes rather than, this one looks pretty, it has a pool, let's go see that. Less about those things and more about the numbers. Again, on the house hack side, you're gonna be living in it, so there is that factor of How does it make it feel? Are you safe? All of those pieces, but do the numbers first and then get there knowing that the numbers work, and if you love it, then it makes sense. So take your time on the actual shopping side of things. Make sure that those numbers make sense. Don't just fall in love with the property. And that's where we see people make mistakes when it comes to house hacking is they fall in love with the property, they want it as their primary residence, but it may not be the best rental option for you. Maybe it's way higher priced and you can't bring those rents in to cover the portion that you need covered, or it could be in an area that's not as easy to rent out. So there's lots of factors that you want to weigh out there. So take your time on the shopping side, do the numbers first. Don't fall in love with properties, because when it comes time to negotiate, that makes it a little bit more difficult. Keep the investor mindset, run the numbers, and then go out and make offers. Step number 5 is making those offers. Now you've found a home that the numbers work, you're gonna be able to rent out the units, you verified that. Now it's time to actually do some negotiating. And so this is where your realtor should really come into play and give you some really solid advice on the best way to go about this. It's not always about how low can I submit an offer to get the best possible deal. You've got to be careful there. If this is a great deal and the numbers work out, just be cautious that you're not lowballing that seller right off the beginning and souring those negotiations before they ever even start. So make sure that you submit something reasonable. Your agent can give you that. An agent should be able to justify why that price is coming in as an offer versus this is just what my buyer wants to pay for it. So they should be able to pull some supporting comparables and those pieces to help make a reasonable offer. And obviously we want to get it for you as little as possible, but reasonable within the comparables so that that seller's agent can actually sit down with their clients and explain why the offer came in where it did as well. So make sure that you submit something reasonable. In some markets with multiple offers and all of that, you may have to go above asking price, but rely on your real estate agent there. If you did your research up front, you asked great questions, your agent does a lot of business and they're not desperately hungry for the commission check from this deal, they should give you some real honest advice on what it will take to get this deal done and what it'll take to win in a multiple offer scenario, or if you can start low and work up from there, you can really rely on that. So just be careful with your emotions here. This is probably one of the biggest mistakes during the negotiation phase is people get easily offended. A seller can get offended by a price, a buyer can be offended by a counteroffer or lack of response to a counteroffer. And so keep the emotions out of it, let the numbers dictate the scenario, and just continue to pencil out those numbers. If you receive many counteroffers with different prices, just start running those numbers, see where they make the most sense, and make a deal that makes sense for you. Don't let the emotions get in the way. That can often cost buyers a really, really great deal just because they didn't like a response or how somebody said something or how something was worded within a contract. So keep those out of it, keep a logical head when you're doing those negotiations, and you should be able to secure yourself a great deal. Step number 6 is closing on the deal and moving into the property. So this is where you're gonna make that ultimate decision of what unit am I living in, one of the 4 units I bought, or am I living in the master bedroom, or am I gonna live in one of the smaller bedrooms so that I can rent out the rest of those rooms for more money. You determine exactly where you're going to live, set it up there. Because you're going to be doing some house hacking, you likely should probably bring in some furniture for living room, dining room, some of those pieces, have a TV set up, some of the common spaces. Most likely you're gonna need to provide some dishes and plates and forks and all that kind of stuff. So be prepared for some of those things. Maybe you've got some of those because you've been renting. Be prepared that tenants and roommates and all of that are gonna be using some of those things if it's a common space. If it's a multi-unit property, you're not gonna have to do as much of that. You won't need to furnish those units typically. So, although you can, and we can talk about that in other videos for midterm rentals and short-term rentals and all of that. But as far as the house hack goes with long-term tenants, if it's multi-unit, don't worry about furnishing those units. But if it is a single family home, you're gonna be sharing some common space, then you're gonna wanna provide some of those amenities that will help you to be able to charge a little bit more because somebody basically just needs to come in with their clothing and their bed and they're set up and ready to start living and paying you rent as the landlord. So once you get moved in and you start bringing people in to start looking at the property to rent out from you, make sure that you have those lease agreements and everything legally in place, because even if you're renting out bedrooms or other units, you still could end up having to evict a tenant, and that costs a lot of money. It takes a lot of time, and ends with legal troubles, and you don't have time for that if you're trying to save money for future real estate investing. So do it the right way, set those things up, consult with property management if you need to, or talk with others that are doing house hacks within investing communities on how they've done all this and how they've structured those things. Make sure you've got everything in place to protect yourself and your investment once you move in. The final step here is now you can actually repeat this process. So you've bought with an FHA loan, and as that home has appreciated, what you can do with that is you can actually refinance that into a conventional loan, and then you can go use an FHA loan to go buy another house hack as long as you're living in it as your primary residence. So this awesome method allows you to get in a house for little money out of your pocket, secure a great interest rate, have a place to live so that you're not renting any longer, start collecting rents and earning passive income, or at least lowering your living expenses, and then you get to save money for future real estate investments. And once you've decided to move out of this property, you do that refinance and you go on and you can do another house hack. I've heard of investors that have done 4 or 5 of these in a row and built a portfolio of 5 or 6 rental properties, because each one you move out of, then you can move a family in there or continue renting out multiple rooms or rent out that unit that you were living in, and that becomes a solo investment property. And you just get to rinse and repeat and keep doing this, and you're only having to put 3.5% down every time, as long as you've refinanced out of that previous loan. So this is something you can rinse and repeat. It kind of depends on your pain tolerance, because to be honest, you're gonna be living with roommates or living on a property that has multiple tenants in it. And so it's something up to you. If you can deal with that pain for some time, you can save a ton of money, build a great real estate portfolio, and keep your monthly costs insanely low. So you can repeat this as long as you're willing to do that. Now, if you decide that you want to get out of that, then you've got solo properties. You can move out of those, and then you can go buy your own primary property, and then you've got investment properties that you've just built up along the road. This is really great for somebody to get started in real estate. Even if you're really, really young, get in there, start with the house hacking. You're probably renting a place and sharing it with roommates already anyways. So if you've got the job and you're making income, go out there and buy it and use this house hack to get started. It's a great method to get around expensive housing and rents and actually use something that's going to make you money in the long run. So those are the steps to house hacking. As you can see, it's very similar to just buying a standard home for yourself, except you're running a little bit of rental scenarios to make sure that you're making some money or lowering your bills. So it's a great opportunity to get into real estate and start earning equity, stop paying rent, and become wealthy through real estate. I hope you enjoyed today's breakdown. If you did, make sure that you leave us a comment below, hit that like button, and don't forget to hit the subscribe button so you don't miss out on future videos. I'm here to help you break out of the 9 to 5, gain financial freedom, and grow wealth through real estate. We'll see you next time.